All this is Dr. Mobeen Sayed from drbeen.com. Welcome to one more show. So, this is an interesting topic today. The topic is that FDA has urged Pfizer to apply for authorization for vaccine for children under 5 or children from 6 to 4. The reason it is interesting, or as Dr. Offit said, atypical, is that usually a company who is running a trial, it is that company's job to finish the trial, collect the data, bring that data to FDA if the company thinks that they have something that FDA will approve. Bring it to FDA and say, please authorize it, approve it. In this specific case, the company did not have data that was encouraging, or as they said, strong for the children under 5, or they said did not meet non inferiority. I'll show you those. So, the atypical thing that was done is FDA urged them to apply. That is the atypical part of this. So, I had been trying to figure out why did FDA do that? Because there are a couple of things that are not that are things that FDA has used those issues for other drugs to say this is why we don't think other drugs are useful. For example, in many cases, FDA has said that some trial that was happening for another drug was changed during the trial. And so the trial's continuity and completion was not as it was decided. They changed the dose, they changed the time, they changed the frequency, they changed the length, and they said this makes the trial invalid. Or the drug has not shown efficacy. And FDA has never said that the drug has not shown efficacy, but people are thinking that it does show that efficacy, so we would actually accept it and we'll do a rolling authorization. There are all kinds of names and terms you would hear today, which to me it said, and again, your opinion might be different. You might listen to this or hear this, or you might already know it and say, yeah, sure, they're justified in doing it. And I'll show you how they're justified. To me, it seemed like FDA said that, hey, where we want to reject something, we'll put a wall of rules and principles and regulations and we'll reject it. But when we don't want to reject something, then we would suspend the scientific analysis and the walls of rules and regulations, and we would go and say, do it. Which simply says, we can do what we want in the name of course, safety and security and efficacy and help with the immunity. That's how it looked to me. So why not we do this? Let's look at what is happening through the references, and then we'll see why is this happening. So let's start. So first part is that, in my opinion, the story starts from here. This is January 20. How much longer will little kids have to wait? Doctors send letter to FDA demanding COVID vaccine for kids under 5. So in here there is a story of a mother who had her 7-year-old son became severely ill with COVID-19 during the Delta wave in the fall. The vaccine had just been authorized for children 5 to 11, but the boy came in contact with the virus before he could make it to his scheduled appointment. So, of course, heartbreaking. And A reason that doctors had such patients and they went and they said, there were 250 of them, they said, FDA, can you stop with these trial stuff and give us the vaccine for children younger? I would assume here that when they went to FDA, they didn't say that give us a vaccine that doesn't work. They would have said, give us a protection. So if they were urging for something useful to protect people for children, I would assume that that should provide protection. And if FDA would see something not providing protection, then this letter, there or not there, should not motivate FDA to go approve something that is, or authorize something that is not proven. In here, so again, um, an article. In here, this is also said that there were some children who died as well. And of course, that is a heartbreaking thing. I think it's a lifelong trauma. So it is actually fair for someone whose child has died or a doctor who managed such patient to say, maybe this extra lever that I had would have worked. So what if I had that lever available? Maybe my child was still alive. I know that the death of a child that occurred in our family, I still sometimes think about those things. Maybe if he didn't do this. However, over here, once again, my thought will be that when this request would go to FDA, FDA would then respond to that with something useful, valuable, something that has, according to their science, demonstrated that this is valuable. So, this is where it started. Then, second part, the, and my apologies, I have multiple browsers open. One browser, USA Today, did not let me demonstrate show their articles without ad blocker. And my problem is if I don't have ad blocker, then this whole thing just is ads. So here, Pfizer-BioNTech provided an update, and this is December 17. Look at what they are saying. They said, BioNTech today, this is December 17, shared that following a routine review by the External Independent Data Monitoring Committee. So what happens is when the trials are ongoing, the company is not supposed to see what the data is. So there is an external monitor who can be looking at the data. They could even do interim analysis as well, and they could come back and say, analysis looks good. Don't do this anymore. The data is so strong that there is no possibility that even when we complete it, it would become too different. In some drugs which have life-saving properties, they might actually come back and say the people are dying in the placebo side, and the life-saving side has proven beyond doubt with significance that it is useful, so stop the trial here. Or they could actually come back and say the trial is going really badly, people are dying on the intervention side, stop it. So what I mean is there is a monitoring company that is neutral, that is separate, that is third party, and they do not provide that data to anyone else. They do their own analysis. Pfizer is talking about that company and said the companies shared, this independent monitoring committee shared routine data. The companies, Pfizer and BioNTech, will amend the clinical study evaluating the safety, tolerability, and immunogenicity of the Pfizer BioNTech COVID 19 vaccine in children 6 months to under 5 years of age. So they said we will amend it. Now keep in mind that when other studies had amendments in them, just the amendment had made them useless. I have threads after threads on Twitter people bad mouthing the studies that it started with this dose and it ended with this dose. It started with this duration, it ended with this duration. It's useless, it's garbage, it's trash. Here, they said, well, we're going to amend it. Why were they amending it? Because the two doses did not show efficacy. They said, add a third dose. This is why also this authorization request is now called a rolling request. And by the way, Europe has done rolling requests and authorizations on them. So it's not a new thing. It's just that atypical for our FDA in the US. They don't usually do it. So company said the study will now include, so study is changing, now include evaluating a third dose of 3 microgram at least 2 months after the second dose of the two doses series to provide high level of protection in the young group. So they said two doses did not show great benefit or significant benefit in more technical terms. So we're going to add a third dose. We're going to amend it. Okay. While the study is ongoing and remains blinded, so the company Pfizer is still not able to look at the study and data, a pre-specified immunogenicity analysis was conducted on a subset of the study population. And I would request you to look at this language here. 1 month following the second dose, compared to the 16 to 25-year-old population. So this is that population for which this vaccine is already authorized. So they're saying we took their data and compared it to this data. Compared to the 16 to 25-year-old population in which high efficacy was demonstrated for 16 to 25, non-inferiority was met. How about that? So I have this link in the description. What does non-inferiority mean? Non-inferiority trials test whether a new experimental treatment is not acceptable, is not unacceptably less efficacious than an active control treatment already in use. So in this case, there is nothing already in use. So ideally, this term should not even be used here because this is a specific trial type where there is a drug that is already working and they are now going to change that drug and they want to make sure that it is not inferior, and this is not a double blinded placebo control type trial. They are just going to change something and try it again, and so then they do a non-inferiority analysis on them. It's a complex trial to do, and I don't think that the Pfizer's trial was actually a non-inferiority trial, but they just simply used that term and they said efficacy which was demonstrated for 16 to 25 in the children, non-inferiority was met for the 6 to 24-month old. That means the vaccine trended towards benefit in 16 to 24, but not for the 2 to under 5. So second years of age, 2 years of age to 5 years, it did not even show that it is not inferior. Do you know not inferior to what? Placebo. So 2 to under 5, it didn't do much. I don't have the actual data to see if there were illnesses or not illnesses. So what they're saying is 6 to 24, there was some inkling that it is beneficial. For 2 to 5, it didn't even show even a trend for the benefit. However, no safety concerns were identified, and 3 microgram dose demonstrated a favorable safety profile in children 6 months to under 5 years of age. The decision to evaluate a third dose of 3 microgram for children 6 months to under 5 years of age reflects the company's commitment to carefully select the right dose to maximize the risk benefit profile. I wish we could have this language applied to some other drugs. that are still bouncing around being orphaned and bad mouthed. The same language could be applied to some, and same champions on Twitter who have been trashing those studies could come and discuss this. Now, there is a, if the, I'll provide a comment here. If the three-dose study is successful, Pfizer and BioNTech expect to submit data to regulators to support the emergency use authorization for children 6 months to under 5 in the first half of 2020. So they were expecting that somewhere by June they would have enough data that they would be able to go and apply for it, authorization. Then they said Pfizer and BioNTech also plan to evaluate a third dose of 10 microgram formulation in children 5 to under 12 years of age. So more trials. So now imagine that this is what happened. This is in December. They came back and they said, look, we haven't seen good data yet. And I can actually understand. Maybe it is Omicron, which has reduced the efficacy in general for 2 doses. Maybe it is just generally the children are more resilient to COVID. And so vaccine didn't do much of a change. Maybe something else. Maybe the dose was less. Maybe the durations were incorrect. So there could be a number of things. That is a point of the trial, to go collect all that and think about it. And I can understand here that FDA would say, you know what? We think that the third dose will change the outcome, just like it is doing it in adults. The third dose is ramping up the immune system. So we think that we should move forward. What I would have loved to understand, that all those children that have been at risk over here, was there some data to say what were the comorbidities of these children? Or were they healthy children? What were the outcomes of the children other than just hospitalization? Remember, UK had done that study that we studied last year, where they said that any child who died of COVID was because they had, unfortunately, sadly, other comorbidities that had put their life at risk: cancers, leukemias, diabetes uncontrolled, and so on, chronic diseases. And they said everybody who was healthy in that children's category and they got COVID, they became okay. I would have really loved to see that data here, to say in the children from this age, 6 months to 4 5 years, healthy children, here is the hospitalization, here is the unfortunate death rate. Or uh, children with comorbidities, here is the risk. They could have then said that children with comorbidities start getting uh, the vaccine, it would protect them. But anyways, I think that they are, so there are many messages out there. Some folks are saying that once they get the authorization for this age, then the liability, because of the Child Vaccine Act in 1986, I believe, that if a vaccine is for approved for children or authorized for children, then you cannot sue the company even if it is given to an adult. So there are many such messages. I think that there is an innocent explanation of this, and that is that, and I'm not defending FDA. FDA has to defend themselves, not me. I'm trying to understand what's happening. And I think they said, you know what, 2 doses are not making sense. They're not working. We are seeing in adults, these are not working either. So maybe let's do 3 doses, and we are sure that that would help. So why not we get the authorization? Let's call it rolling authorization. Let the company then provide more data as the data becomes available. But now we have 2 doses. At least we can start administering those doses. And they can definitely stand behind this thinking and say, we are doing it to protect children. The only thing that I do not know is what are the stats around the children's unfortunate outcomes of COVID in this age. So then here is January 1st, yesterday. Pfizer. Pfizer and BioNTech initiate rolling submission. So this would be a new one for us. Again, as I said, Europe has done it. Rolling submission for emergency use authorization of their COVID-19 vaccine in children 6 months through 4 years of age, following request from US FDA. They said, we were not going there. It's the US FDA that came in. And US FDA is saying, look, doctors are saying that there is a problem and we need to provide this extra lever to doctors so they can protect as much as they can. So that's what we're doing. With pediatric COVID 19 cases surpassing 10 million at the request of the FDA, the companies have submitted available data on the safety and efficacy of 2 3 microgram doses as part of a 3-dose primary series for this age group to address the urgent public health need. Companies plan to submit additional data on a third microgram dose, 3 microgram dose in this age group in the coming months. If authorization is granted, the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine would be the first COVID-19 vaccine available for pediatric population under 5 years of age. So this is Pfizer. Here is uh, FDA. So of course, then FDA provided their own statement that hey, we are doing it for there is a with the Omicron, with the surge, there is a real danger to children, and so we are coming back and we are saying, let's just move forward. So you know where I am hurt in this whole thing. More power to any way to protect children. There were requests to help adults as well for some other drugs that we cannot even name them. And I have read you letters going to the state boards and pharmaceutical agencies and pharmacies to say, tell us who are the doctors. And there are insurance companies sending letters to say, do not dare prescribe it to our members. That seems over there, the science was prevailing. But again, I'm going to just take it as they are doing it um, after out of care for children and to protect them. So here is FDA. Coronavirus COVID-19 update. FDA Advisory Committee meeting to discuss request for authorization of Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for children 6 months through 4 years of age. I believe it is February 15. Today, the US FDA Drug Administration is announcing a virtual meeting, so that is on Feb 15, to discuss this. Now, how do they talk about it? Having a safe and effective vaccine available for children in this age group is a priority for the agency. So it is a priority for them, and we are committed to a timely review of the data, which the agency asked Pfizer to submit in light of the recent Omicron surge. Furthermore, children are not small adults. Because they are still growing and developing, it's critical that these vaccines are evaluated in well designed and well conducted clinical trials. So, of course, the design is just changed, said acting FDA Commissioner Janet Woodcock. In the meantime, the best way to protect children, including when they are at school or daycare, is to practice social distancing and everything. So that's how they responded. Now, there are some interesting articles as well. For me, there was an interesting comment by Dr. Offit, who has been on the FDA's advisory committee for vaccines, and he said this is atypical. I think I showed it to you. Was this the one? Not typical. FDA takes unusual step in urging Pfizer to seek approval for child vaccine. So I'm going to still look at it to say they are trying to help. And I can understand the reasoning could be that the third doses, even for adults nowadays, we're saying two doses are not working, and the three doses seem to become more effective. So I think that is what they're saying. But there is a change in the trial, there is a change in the scientific method, but here we are. So, what I am interested in is, so Rima says, what is the UK and Israel is doing? I think, Rima, let's look at these uh, tomorrow for these data points. I would love to actually review how our, so we know that in UK, the report number 34, let's just very quickly look at UK's report. So 34 reports said 20 plus weeks after the second dose, the efficacy of vaccine is down to zero. Done. It's finished. If a booster is given, then the efficacy goes up. And then by 10th week after the booster, it starts going down towards 50 and so. I believe they have given a new report. I haven't had a chance to look at that, other than a couple of things. So I looked at it, but I did not thoroughly look at it. So let me show something very interesting. So sorry, it might become a little longer, this talk, but UK technical briefing. So I was looking at it in the morning, but I have not gone in depth. What they did was they have further structured this briefing, that the efficacy is separated and the briefing is here, and the severity index is separate. So if I go in here, vaccine effectiveness, a preliminary assessment did not find evidence of a difference in vaccine effectiveness against BA2. So this report actually talked a lot about BA2. However, numbers included in this study are relatively small and it will be iterated. And of course, BA2 is what, couple of weeks now, so they don't have enough data to actually make a very good assessment. And they had this risk assessment. So remember last time we looked at the risk assessment, and then the infection and severity was green. This is BA2, this is not BA1. So they left it out. They said infection and severity, insufficient data, no systematic analysis comparing BA1 and BA2 are yet available, which makes sense. It's just too short of a time. Growth advantage of BA2. Based on early data, BA2 does not appear to be more immune evasive than BA1. That's very interesting. A preliminary pseudovirus neutralization study does not suggest a difference in neutralization between BA1 and BA2 using vaccine sera. There is no live virus data available in the UK. Preliminary assessment of vaccine effectiveness against symptomatic disease in the UK is based on a relatively small number of cases, but does not suggest a difference between BA1 and BA2. I don't like to say this, but now I said this yesterday as well, I'll say this today as well, that I had looked at the mechanism and the difference, and I had said it doesn't look like it's going to be more different. And to me, it still seems like that one mutation in BA2 that makes it once again less escaping from the antibodies might mean that the vaccine effectiveness might be improving, or previous infection might still become better in controlling this compared to BA1. We'll see. However, the live virus data, reinfection data, and iterated vaccine effectiveness studies are required before this can be confirmed. Growth advantage and transmissibility. it is plausible that transmissibility is contributing to the growth advantage because it is actually replacing BA1. Given the high secondary attack rates and lack of apparent immune evasion, it is plausible. So, this is very interesting. Lack of apparent immune evasion. It is plausible that a change in transmissibility is contributing to the growth advantage. It is unclear at this present how this would arise on the BA2 mutation profile. Serial interval data is not yet available. So, this is the UK report. I'll go more in detail tomorrow. I'll read it, highlight it, and then we'll talk about that as well. So, this is the second discussion. For me today, now this is the third discussion. I have done one with the FLCCC. Second one was the one that we did before this, and this is third. So, if you are okay, I'm going to take leave from the uh, chit chat, and we'll meet again tomorrow. So, in the meantime, I would love to know what is your understanding. I think even when I'm not a fan of FDA or CDC nowadays, even then, I think maybe they're trying to actually do good. The only thing which is unknown to me is what is the risk. And so, so they said efficacy, but what are the negative outcomes? That is not known. So, hopefully, at some point, we'll see that. That is how I looked at it. I became angry and annoyed that this similar flexibility for the good of some population was not afforded to some other things. Actually, there was an actual attacking and bad mouthing and destroying and trashing of certain drugs. And not only that, people who were working with those drugs. So, with this, thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, and share. I don't know how long this channel would stay with these talks, but we'll see. Uh, if you can support this channel, there are links in the description. You can buy me a coffee, or you can be a patron, or you can use PayPal. I would love folks to be more patron, because even for $5 per month, you could probably support this kind of work for a longer period of time. But anyways, support or not support, sometimes Cool Bean send me a message saying I'm not earning, or I do not have sufficient money to support you. And my request to you, please, there is no pressure. When I started this, my intent was not that you should support me and only then I'll do it. So there is no pressure. And please let me know how we can assist you, how we can help you. And please, thank you so very much. I feel so much loved when somebody sends me a coffee and says, I can't do more than this. Thank you very much for your work. And it makes me so, it just is an amazing feeling. But please, the, you should not feel bad at all. This is, people had been asking me, Cool Beans had been asking me that, hey, give us something that we can use to support you. That is why I say it. It is not to embarrass anyone or to make anyone feel that they should do it. Thank you very much. I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye for now.